Alfie, what's going on?
Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet, and do not move from this spot.
Hi and welcome back to Real Reviews, where I'm diving into 28 Years Later, which has been out in cinemas now for a couple of days, so it's worth a look. It is the third in a long line of films, as in three, which stars Aaron Taylor-Johnson in this particular case, Jodie Comer, and the eponymous Ralph Fiennes. So let's dive into this Alex Garland penned piece of zombie, undead, infected fiction and see what all the fuss is about. So early word round the campfire for 28 Years Later is that everybody is loving this latest entry that brings back Danny Boyle and Alex Garland into the fold. Yes, there was 28 Days Later, then 28 Weeks, which wasn't actually directed by Danny Boyle, starred Jeremy Renner and Idris Elba. This one has got them isolated, as in Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, isolated on an island which is separated from the mainland by a causeway, which is only accessible during low tide. That sets up the premise, that sets up the objective. Then what you have is essentially Comer in bed suffering some sort of mystery illness. You've got Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who is the hunter-gatherer, and then his son. What they then do is they go out on a hunting trip, ultimately sort of like his first time outside the compound for this young boy who's supposedly only 12. What then ensues is not really a great deal. You get a decent look at the infected. There are some interesting segues in terms of the way that they've evolved and how there are different types. That's interesting, and visually it's also quite engrossing, quite intriguing, because this was shot primarily using lightweight camera equipment, including iPhone 15 Pro Maxes on bespoke set rigs, camera rigs for certain shots. So this does feel very much like a Danny Boyle movie. But beyond that, you've also got the mysterious Ralph Fiennes, who only turns up probably for the last third of the movie. But there is a lot more going on in 28 Years Later, or is there? Let's dig a bit deeper. So, is there really that much more going on? I would hazard a guess and say not really that much. It reminds me, there was a TV show which was on Sky Arts or on Sky Entertainment, and it was called The Third Day. It was a 3-part thing. It starred Jude Law. 2 parts of it were filmed in the can and were edited and then broadcast, and the third one was live. This sort of feels like that. That was isolated to a single island as well, and that had some strange things going on. What I felt it was missing, let's see, I don't think there was enough of the infected. I don't think there was enough confrontation. The tension was there were certain moments where the tension was sustained. There were also certain moments going into the film which didn't tie up. So when Taylor-Johnson and his son go off, you get lots of the infected, but there is another pairing that goes off the island later on in the film, and miraculously they virtually encounter no hostility of any kind, which is kind of weird. I also feel that Ralph Fiennes was underused. I didn't think that, you know, as mysterious and sort of like, I don't know, totemistic as his character is, and sort of, you know, sort of Colonel Kurtz-ish, with the bald head and the iodine and the sort of like back to basic sort of nature of his character. There should have been a lot more going on there. Ultimately, my problem with 28 Years Later is that the story feels wafer thin, although the performances are decent from Taylor-Johnson, Comer, and Fiennes, and the assembled ensemble cast. There is just simply something lacking there. But on that note, I'm going to dive into my rating. Let's do that. So some reviewers have compared 28 Years Later to Train to Busan. They've also compared it to Apocalypse Now or Heart of Darkness in terms of its, I don't know, how impressive it is. But ultimately, I'm going to be giving this a 3.5 out of 5 on the big old 5 scale, because this is a wafer-thin story. There doesn't seem to be enough going on there to support the characters. There was also word that this is like the first in a new trilogy. And my first feeling is, what else is there to say? Where else is this going to go? And ultimately, why does that ending feel so clunky? But on that note, I'm going to dive into my trailer. Let's do that.
Don't look at what's in front of you. Booze, 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 moving up and down again. Men, men.
And so it is, you've reached the end of another video review, this time for 28 Years Later, which is out in general release in cinemas now, and I still recommend it despite my rating. So on that note, I would say if you like the video, you can give me a thumbs up. Failing that, if you want to just drop a comment in the comment box below, I will respond. And then thirdly, you can just subscribe so that every Tuesday and every Saturday when I drop another one of these videos literally into your lap, you'll get a little notification and you can pop in and watch or listen to as much or as little as you'd like, and then go about your day. In the meantime, check out the rest of the channel and maybe pop over to the Patreon page. Take care. Cheers now. Bye.